Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. I, of course, am Brian, and today I have a very, very special guest. Travis Feaster is back. The one that we actually, together, I, and Max started this podcast 3 years ago this month. So Travis is back for, actually, we're going to do two different segments. This is part one, back with Travis Feaster. And today we talk about the start of the podcast. We talk about his Marshall Plexi, which... if you don't know, Travis has been making some amps, mostly for fun, but for other people too, and they sound great. He also talks about the Fryette Attenuator, which he's in love with. And then he lays one down on us. He's quitting pedals in general. Crazy. Let's get right into that.
I think I got a pretty good subject.
You do?
I'm going to say I sold my amp, and I got $4,000 for it. What did you buy for $4,000?
You sold your Marshall.
My Marshall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's back up. Your Marshall, which was a what year?
A 68. Oh, are we recording right now? Okay.
Yeah. I just let it run.
Okay, my fault. Okay. All right. So, I want to make sure I'm talking loud enough and
you're totally
such.
fine.
Okay. So anyway,
I'm writing these volumes like Cowboy Rogers or Roy Rogers,
whatever he would do.
Yeah, like if he wrote a cowboy. I mean, if he rode a horse like a cowboy. Whole different podcast on that one.
Yeah, that's a different subject matter, and one I'm unfamiliar with. Where's Max?
We need Max.
Dude, I started doing something, and unfortunately, Max kind of became the brunt of the joke. Like anytime you mention anything, and I'm probably gonna make some people mad, so you can cut this if you want. But like,
it's all right.
Right. So
I'll gladly give their money back.
Well, because I mean, right? Because here's what everybody does it. I don't care, and I'm not saying it's racist, but sometimes you'll describe somebody as black, or sometimes you'll describe somebody as Asian or redheaded or whatever. Right. You know, a bigger guy or whatever.
Right.
No matter what it is, just apologize to Max immediately after. So you could be like, oh man, you know, the little Asian guy. Oh, sorry, Max. I was like, man, I love that one drummer, man. Which one's that? Oh, you know, the black dude from Barbados. Sorry, Max. And every time he just gives me this look like, what does this mean? You know, you can see the look. Right. You can see the look in your head that he gives you.
Yeah, the look of confusion, like, what do you even mean by that?
Right.
So Max, of course, used to be on the podcast for a long time until episode 102, I think. I think your last episode was 80.
Probably 70s or 80s.
79 or 80, somewhere like that. The one, if anyone's interested, the one that says like a fond farewell, that was Travis's last podcast, 2015.
Gosh, you're right.
2015. And get this, I looked at today, we've had the Chasing Tone podcast since June 20th, I believe, 2014.
No way.
3 years ago.
I think it's so funny how it started. And, you know, I kind of poke fun at you a little bit.
Everyone does.
Well,
it's okay.
I don't feel. To me, it's like I don't understand making fun of people behind their back because then you don't get to see their reaction.
Right.
That's the point of making fun of somebody is you want to see how they do it. So now I'm telling you. But it was so funny. Brian was. I'll never forget. We were talking about and keep in mind this was I started working for you in 2012, and you and I were always talking about what's next. We could care less what was going on right now. Like, for instance, I can remember 2012. Nobody looked at the pedal demo as like, or YouTube as like a way for a commercial. It was 18-minute long demos. And then we were kind of like, let's make it like a 3 or 4 minute commercial. People can do their own research after that. But anyway, so one of the what's next things is Brian was like, man, we should do a podcast. I'm just too busy, but I think you and Max could just do your own podcast.
That's right. It was originally going to be you and Max. Yeah.
Right. And I think, and we did one, and it didn't suck. And I think Brian was kind of like, wait a minute, it didn't suck. I think I want in on it. I wanted to make sure it was going to fly first because I didn't want to be a part of it if it was going to suck.
I remember there were some things you're like, well, there's some questions like we were talking about, but like, if we're talking about an op amp or something, it'd be nice if you could like chime in to say like your thoughts on
Absolutely.
it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll do one or two with you.
Right.
You know, and then.
Yeah, you were
and
like, I'll
the
just be a
next thing you know-
special guest for like the tech ones.
And next
And I
thing
was
you know, just leave me freaking high and dry. And here I'm like, this is Brian. And today I'm going to talk about true bypass and buffers.
Oh, dude.
Again.
I got something, I hope you don't mind me kind of hijacking. What else is new? I always hijack these things, but I was on
Well, but on the side note, you don't look like whoever it was that they said you looked like some other dude. We can't name the company, pedal company that said you looked like Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah. Right? Hey, Mark Hamill could pull some wool back in the day. Right? So I'm
You
okay
probably
with that.
still can.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But I was I'm a gear geek, man. I always have been. I was a gear geek before I worked
Yep.
for Wampler. I'm still a gear geek. So I'm still on all kinds of gear forums. And,
Right.
that's one thing I love about Facebook. And one thing I do have to say is that community on the Wampler Pedals Tone group on Facebook. I imagine probably your listeners are on there. If they're not,
Yeah, there's some, yeah.
if they're not, man.
The ones that aren't cool aren't.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
No, and I mean, this sounds like a commercial, and I don't mean it that way, but like, what a great, it's one of these things you can show off your gear. People will be happy for you. Nobody's envious. Nobody's hating on you.
Right.
I had a question about PayPal and Reverb and
I saw
eBay, and it's like 75 comments in like 15 minutes, and it was like,
It takes a lot of culling because you do get the guy like the general a-holes.
well, of course, and your trolls.
Yeah, and so like, you pull him aside like in the private message, he's like, dude, you can't do that. Like
Right.
that's not cool. If you want
What?
to do that, you need to find a different group.
Yeah, it's called Gear Talk.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of them like that. Like if that's what you want to do, that's cool. Just we're not going to let you do that here.
Right.
And
see, to me, I don't see that aspect of it. So I just reap the rewards because I don't have to see any of the behind the scenes. But it's a great group. But it's awesome. But what I was going to say is I was on this. Obviously we live real close to Indianapolis, and there's one called Naptown Gear Nuts.
Yeah.
In Naptown, Indianapolis. It's just its nickname for anybody that's unsure of that. But
Right.
you mentioned true bypass switches. Some guy got on there and was like, "Hey man, the foot stomp switch went out in my Bogner channel selector," and he was like, "I'm really really upset." Da 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 da. And what do I do? So I just chimed in. I said, "Man, they're mechanical switch. They're only good for like 10,000 cycles. I think just chalk it up to bad luck. It's not Bogner's fault."
No.
You know what I mean?
Bogner's not like, I wonder, let's find the worst
Because-
switches and use them this time.
Right,
Yeah,
because
it doesn't work that way.
somebody was saying, well, hey, any place you can cut corners. I was like, dude, they're not cutting corners.
No.
It's literally the same switch.
No. Yeah.
And then-
you're not cutting corners for stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
and
going to
then-
come back as a repair and bite you in the butt.
Right, exactly. So, so he started saying, he's like, well, I'm going to buy this switch. And this switch was related to a company that is very, very, very good at marketing. And he claims that he basically redesigned, is it a 3PDT? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, triple pull, double throw
triple
for those
pull,
out
double
there
throw.
to know.
But,
So I imagine the company
oh, I know you know what I'm talking about.
like
He's a
has some pull
Yeah, absolutely.
and some tone,
He has triple pull.
right? Triple pull,
Triple
In
pull
his tone. right?
Yeah, he has triple pull
Yep.
tone.
Yep.
But and the switches are like 15 or 18 bucks. I forget what it is. And I just had, and I said, look, they're a great company. They make good stuff. I said, but dude, the chances are the switch is the exact same thing, just with his name on it. And I was like, just go to Small Bear or Mammoth or Mauser or
Yeah,
Radio Shack or something, and
is Radio Shack even a thing?
it was because, dude, I cleaned up. That one in Mooresville, when it went out of business, I bought LEDs. I don't need LEDs. Why did I buy 15 different LEDs of all shapes and sizes?
Well, they used to sell like LEDs for like, all right, 3 of them for
$400.
Yeah, like $2. Like, dude, I could buy like 4,000 of
Yeah.
these for 10 cents.
Yeah, exactly. But I cleaned up. Like, I bought a bunch of. The main thing, look, it's not like solder is gonna fly off the shelf anywhere. So when I went in there, was solder everywhere. But
Right,
so
yeah.
I picked up the solder. But no, that was just one of those things. That was like, no, man, the true bypass switch. Just get a cheap one.
Yeah, if you go to Small Bear or something like that, like you can kind of see like which ones are better and which ones like,
Right.
And it's I say better because like there's some quality processes like when they're making switches that some go through and some don't go through. And like all the big guys, like you said, Small Bear, Mammoth, like all those people.
Right.
If you want to buy them from Unsaid Pedal Company, then more power to you.
Right.
But if I was looking for switches, I would just go to one of those guys.
And I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers. So yours evolved, So it's not like I have this unbridled loyalty to Wagner. I mean,
right.
But at the same time, it's like don't kick a company in the dirt because.
I've talked to Reinhold a few times since then.
Have you?
Well, because now we're part of
Boutique
Amps,
okay.
which Bogner pedals are also part of Boutique Amps.
Okay.
So every now and then we'll have a conversation where it's just like you get for example I work with Dave Friedman on the Effects Loop. Like you get a couple guys together like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? You just get a couple people who have like minds and just kind of shoot things off of each other, it's a handy thing
Absolutely.
to do. And so it's like he's like I'm doing this fuzz and this is what's going on. I'm like, have you tried this? Yep. Have you tried that? Yep. I don't know, Reinhold. I'm sorry. That's all I got for you, man. And so
you tried just making it louder.
So things have improved from the days of you are the Vampla blowing smoke in face.
Well, I mean. Yeah,
but I mean that was back in those days. So.
Oh yeah, I know, man. But it was still kind of funny.
It was very funny.
It was
very funny
because you didn't get upset. You were just like, really, dude.
I actually thought it's funny because I'm like, we're both dorks.
yeah, and he's walking around like, I am king of the nerds.
You're like, we arranged resistors. We're awesome.
But no, so I mean, but at the same time, it was like, man, dude, it's just bad luck.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, especially because, especially with the Bogner stuff.
I just knocked something over.
Oh no, that's all right. Whatever you knocked over, it's probably not going to catch on fire.
It's not liquid.
So that's fine.
Okay.
So, anyways, so I know all that stuff goes through gigantic quality assurance procedures. But as well as I do. I mean, it's not that you don't take the switches apart and inspect the little metal parts like, well, this one looks like it might fail sooner than the other.
Right.
Like you just, you click them off a bunch of times. You're like, all right, that works.
On and off. It's good.
I mean, there's no really good way to test a mechanical switch.
Well, you're right. And the thing that, and you can edit this out if it's not supposed to be common knowledge, but I believe it was...
I don't edit anything out unless you talk about my manhood. my manhood.
But I think it was the dual fusion and or the Photape Echo, but you were having problems with the switches at one point. And you even designed a socketed system, if I'm remembering correctly, to where you're like, okay, switches fail. Let's design something to where instead of them sending the pedal back and all this stuff, we could just send them a switch.
Yeah.
And I remember doing a little video for it. And then I remember you going, you know what? Instead of that, let's just go to relays.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at it now. I mean,
everything's
best
relays.
Decision ever.
I mean,
you can get $1 million.
And the thing is, it costs $15 more. Well, it costs at least 10 more to do that.
Right.
Relays are super high quality and super expensive. Plus, you have microcontrollers.
Well,
and
that's
everything
the thing,
else around
everything that goes along.
Yeah, and so we didn't raise the price on it because I'm like, no.
Yeah,
we're just making it better.
Well, who's going to be like, well, I want to pay $10 extra because it's got that switch.
Right.
Gotta have that switch.
Of course, that's worth $10 extra.
Yeah, but and it's unfortunate, but it was one of those things that was like, I just thought it was kind of a good idea to do the socketed thing, and it's kind of a no-brainer, but I wouldn't have thought of it.
There's other companies that do.
Oh, are there?
And the thing is, it's not like we didn't invent anything. Like other electronic industry corporations do that stuff.
Okay.
But, coming from the garage and building stuff, I never thought of that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, it's just, one of those things we figured out. But anyways... So 14 minutes in.
Yeah, we haven't.
You started talking about your plexi.
We haven't even gotten back there. Hey, but it's
so I got to put a note at the beginning.
Yeah.
14 minutes. All right, guys, everybody, just skip to 14 minutes in, and then we actually talk about stuff.
Hey, but we actually stayed on topic and about gear. Pretty much. I mean, talking about switches and such. The such. Okay, so
Well, we've joked forever, and it never has changed because Blake Weiland, the guy that I've been doing podcasts here with the past year or so,
Tone Mob, right?
Yeah, from Tone Mob, same exact way. Like we totally just chase each other with topics, and then 20 minutes in, we're like, "What the hell are we even talking about?"
Oh yeah, look at the sheet, look at the paper. Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought me on. So this will be.
Yes, you had the most awesome plexi ever.
I did, man. It was I found out it was actually the 1986 model, which was, and I only found this out, my goodness, when you start dealing with collector grade buyers and collector grade gear, oh my, it is just a different animal of consumer, a whole different. For instance, me, I always bought something because it sounded good, you know? So I bought this Plexi because it sounded awesome and I always wanted one. So it was a 1968 50 watt small box Plexi. Mm-hmm. That's the tone, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the tone everybody grew up listening to. Anybody our age, anyway.
Right.
So I bought one, and I loved it for years upon years upon years. And then, for some reason, I decided I wanted a 20 watt Plexi. So I found
So the one you had was 100.
It was a 50 watt.
50 watt.
Yeah, and it was just a little loud, and it was big, and it was heavy, and very loud, really. But so I saw a 1969 20 watt, and it was the lead and bass, but it had tremolo. The actual model number, if any you gear nerds want to geek out on it, it's the 2022T, 2022T. Okay. So it's the 20 watter with tremolo. Right. But so I got this thing, and Brian, I'm done. When it comes to dirty amps, I am done. Because it's the tone that I've always wanted. I don't.
All right, so thanks for listening to Chasing Tone Podcast.
Right. Right. I am done.
Travis has to go right now.
Yeah, but no, it's just that tone that I've always grew up. That tone, and it's like you can crank it and you get that saturated thing without the fizz, or you can back it down and you just get the nice tight crunch. It's solid state rectified. So I was like, man, I gotta give a shout out to the Fryette Power Station. Do you know what this thing is?
No, but I know Steven. So yeah. Stevie's really he knows his stuff,
dude.
Man.
This thing, remind me to go back to the Plexi. But this thing, it's a I call them attenuators. It's an attenuator. Attenuator. But no, it's an attenuator. But I remember talking to you about this being my problem playing cranked amps was. Could never get a reverb delay sound good going into the front.
Right.
And I typically like vintage amps that don't have effects loops. So, you know, I had no idea what to do. It was a problem I'd always fought. But this attenuator, it's actually an attenuator and a reamplifier, by the way. So it's two 6L6s and a 12AX7 phase inverter.
Right.
And we'll get to that in a minute. But it's got an effects loop in it that's perfect.
So this is between the power amp and the speaker. That's
correct.
Like I said, Stevie is a genius.
Dude,
so,
it's ridiculous.
The guy's he's modern day Jesus in the amp world.
I mean, it's ridiculous, man. You set it on top of your amp and it looks attractive. I mean, it's heavy. It's an amplifier because it also can take any amp up to 50 watts. So you can get one of those Marshall JMP 1 watt amps. And it's now a 50 watt amp.
Because you got a pair of 6L6s, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a 50 watt amp. So, but it's also got some great EQ controls on it and some switches.
So the EQ on as well? Like bass, mid, treble type of thing?
No, it's he calls it presence and depth.
Okay.
And then he's got...
So that would be... Never mind.
No, go ahead. I want to know.
So yeah, most likely... I would guess that there's a feedback path on that, which comes from the transformer back behind the phase inverter, and so that's how you're getting your depth or there's been a bunch of companies that have like that, you'll see like a presence and like a depth control or something. Okay. It's all that feedback path that they're doing. So it's not like it's not like a traditional amp control like we're bass, mids, and treble.
Right, because it's not really dealing with a
different
tone
thing.
stack.
Yeah,
and it does have switches on it for I think it's like bright. It's got a bright switch basically, and then like a deep
volume
switch. That's the thing, dude. You know how most attenuators, this is the game changer. The whole thing, the effects loop, and the fact that if you've ever used the Marshall Power Soak, the THD Hot Play, any of that, it like clicks. You know what I mean? It's not what's the word I'm looking
Because
for? Linear. It's not linear.
Right, because you have fixed positions.
Exactly. Yeah. So it goes 3D, -3, -6, negative whatever. This is just a smooth pot, man. And then it's got
nothing better than smooth pot.
No, nothing better than smooth pot. but but no, it's awesome. And it's got a button on there to where, like, you know, you can. I kind of look at it as one way cranked up is kind of like Unity, what it would be without.
Okay, so the button is basically like it gets rid of everything in your full volume. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, it's got that too. It's got a bypass. But what I mean is, like, so let's say you take the volume, the overall volume on it, you crank it to 10, okay? On one setting with a button, that's basically Unity, unattenuated. Okay. But it still has your EQ controls. Okay. But if you hit that button, it turns it on to, like, the reamplification part of it. So it cranks it. So basically, you can go from bedroom volumes to stage volumes with the one knob. I mean, it's... And basically, it's almost like pushing the button changes the tolerance or something. I don't know. I should have brought it over, man, because you would have known exactly.
Yeah, that sounds completely killer.
Dude, it is unreal. It literally solves every problem of a gigging musician that likes to play loud amps. It literally I can't think of one problem. I mean, and dude, it's 2 cables.
There's so many times I get the question, like, I don't have an effect, especially now they do, like, all the YouTube videos, like, here's what you do in an effects loop if your amp's too loud, like all that stuff. And there's so many times I get people to say, I don't have an effects loop. Where do I put my delay at?
Right. There is a less, you know, you get what you pay for. You know, there is another one out there that's really great, and it's called the Bad Cat Unleash. But I guess you want to use the version 2 because I guess there's a problem with version 1. I don't know, but whatever. But it's solid state.
They didn't use carbon composite resistors in that one.
Well, I think it was blowing things up. But,
okay. Well,
not really. But people were misusing it, is what it is.
It had plutonium in the first version. It was terrible.
But people were misusing it, and then so Bad Cat basically put out another version that made it a little bit more idiot-proof.
They saved the folks from themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, and it is a little less expensive. But I'm so glad I bought this thing, this Fryette Power Station 2.
So I totally get the saving people from themselves, because literally a comment I had, this has happened like 2 or 3 times this week. So if this was you out there, I say this lovingly. But if you email me and you literally say, something's wrong with my pedal because I don't have any power connected to it, and it still stays on, or if you say my pedal still stays on even when I disconnect the power cable, why? I'm going to, like, literally first we're going to pass around the company and laugh at you, and then the second thing we're going to do is gently remind you that there's a battery inside.
Do you guys still ship with batteries?
We ship with Wampler branded batteries, only the best.
Why wouldn't you?
No, literally, this is actually kind of cool. So, like, I'm like, I fly to, this has been a while back. I fly to the facility where they're like in California, where they're making everything, and they're like, dude, we got your batteries in. Let's check them out. And it's this gigantic pallet full of 9-volt batteries.
Oh my God.
A pallet full.
Kind you own these.
and I'm like, holy cow, I am killing the earth.
Oh no.
I'm like, I'm kind of like dying inside a little bit.
Earth Destroyer.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not what, but the thing is, like, I have to, like, because there's so many people that email me and thank me that they got this pedal. Right. And they were able to pull it out of the box and plug it in.
Right.
So it's like, if
it makes you feel any better, I doubt they're making more batteries just for you. They're just probably sending them. They're probably already made. They're going to go to someone else.
They're not like, somebody. But we did have 200 billion. We need 200 billion and 1,000 now.
Right, exactly. You know, because somebody else on Alibaba would have branded them, you know. I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
No, that's probably true. So you probably find a Whomper battery on Alibaba.
Whomper? Yeah.
Whomper.
Yeah.
Well, hell, they've already knocked off the triple wreck. What's the point of batteries?
I know.
But
you got to admit that keeps Mr. Wilding busy. He loves going after cloners, man. Oh, and it's so funny. I swear. Well, when I worked for you, I would always make a note. Just every Monday, for some reason, I don't know why, but every Monday I would just always go and look for clones. And rarely were there any, but anytime there was, man, sometimes I didn't even tell you. I just sick Jason on him. And the thing he'd always say is, leave it with me. Love you, Jason.
Oh, man.
I still keep in good contact with him, man. I love that dude.
For those who are listening, Jason Wilding, which would be, let's see, if you're on Facebook, you know Jason Wilding. But if not, he's
Mark Zuckerberg knows
he's one of the
Jason
behind-the-scenes guys that does a lot of stuff, just a lot of general stuff to make things keep flowing. And one of the big things you might notice is he does a lot of the graphics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I've even used him in my new profession, saying, "Hey, man, can you help me with some graphics?"
I've been posing.
Yeah.
Hope you don't mind these private pictures, but I need some Photoshop work done.
Yeah. Can you make me look a little skinnier? So the Plexi. So okay,
right, because you're making amps now.
Huh?
You're making amps, right?
Well, I mean, I've made a couple, but the last one kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Like,
well, you're not supposed to eat it.
Yeah, I know, right? No, man, I had it, and I was like, I'm going to make a JTM 45. Mm-hmm. So I made a JTM 45 to vintage specs. And then it turns out, well, I hate the sound of a JTM 45. So I was like, all right, let's get rid of these KT66s, and let's convert it to 34s. Okay, well, I like it a little better, but turns out I hate tube rectification. So let's go ahead and let's make it solid state rectification. Next thing you know, I have a 50-watt Plexi. Let's change the preamp section around a little bit.
You modified the entire amp.
Dude, the amp is no longer a JTM 4, not even close. Let's do the cascading gain mod. Okay. So it's like basically what started out as this 4-input thing is now a 1-input master volume, cascading gain, and it's got the Pinto triode switch for half power mod, which is the noisiest thing ever. Mm-hmm. But, it's old school design.
Right.
And then, so like, you'll laugh at this, and this is total nerd humor, so you guys might want to just fast forward. But, so like, it's not even humor, but, so basically I'm testing it out, and everything's right around 400 volts. And I'm like, okay, this is beautiful, So I do the nerd thing at first, and I bias it to 70% of that, and I get it to like 36 millivolt, whatever.
Right.
And then I realized that's stupid, so I just totally crank the bias and start rolling it down until it sounds good as I'm playing it, which is probably pretty dangerous to do, but it worked. But anyway, so I shut the thing off, and the chassis was sitting on the transformers outside of the head cabinet, and I turned and I bumped into the chassis, and it fell over. Not like on anything, but like maybe half an inch, however tall on the tube, whatever.
Right.
And something in there, because of my poor craftsmanship somewhere.
Something in the tube or something in the actual chassis?
Something. You know what? I need to try the tubes. How did I not try the tubes? But anyways, now.
Wait a minute.
Right?
It might have been the tubes.
Right. I don't think so, man, because I almost wonder if like a transformer opened up, a power transformer opened up a little bit, like some of the coil. Because, dude, now I didn't change a thing.
We didn't drop it. You just bumped it.
I bumped it, but it did knock over like half an inch, and not, because you know what I mean? Like when it's up on a transformer, it can fall.
Right.
So it fell on itself, basically, but now it's hitting at 500 volts. What the hell can make it do that? Dude, I've called
the devil.
Right? and everybody I've called is like, what they do is like, well, something's going on in there. That doesn't help me.
No, thanks.
So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's cool anyway, because my filter caps are rated for 500 volts. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happened. Oh, by the way, when I modded the amp, of course, I changed the values on the filter caps to Plexi, so it's nowhere near a JTM 45 now. So anyways, now it runs at 500 volts, and if I crank it too high, I'll let the factory smoke right out of those filter caps, man. They pop, like literally in fire. It's awesome. But so instead of fixing it and figuring out and going back and retracing the circuit, you know what I did? Got a Variac.
I'll just manually adjust
exactly, dude. So I just adjust the wall voltage, go into the plates. Boom! I run it at about 430 now, and oh man, round sound. Come on! I've been working on my come on. I got a new one actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What's your new thingy here?
you could basically have a full conversation on any topic by saying three things. One, I wish you would. Two, why wouldn't you? And three, I don't know why you wouldn't.
You've been living in Martinsville way too long.
Why wouldn't I? And it's great too, because
you're right. You can answer anything with that.
I don't know why I wouldn't. And it does work. It works awesome on your wife. Hey, honey, I'm going to jump in the shower. I wish you would. All right, baby, I'm heading out to work. Or I'm leaving. I'm going to work. Wish you would. They wish you would. Why wouldn't you? I don't know why you wouldn't. And it answers anything. Like, what started it was my buddy Ed. We were listening to Robin Trower. And he was like, man, who sang for Robin Trower? And I was like, I think it's James Dewar, the bass player. He goes, is he dead? And I go, I don't know why it wouldn't be. And he's not dead. He's not dead. But so, I mean, I wish you would. Oh my gosh, I hope that grows legs because, man, I got all my buddies saying it. I wish you would. Why wouldn't you? And then every now and again you can pepper in does that happen often? And between that, you can talk about anything to anybody.
You can carry on a conversation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I could go into a mechanic. I know nothing about cars, and they'll start talking about things. I don't know why you wouldn't. And they're like, and then I did this. Well, why wouldn't you? Right?
I've been thinking about doing this. I wish you would.
I wish you would. Right? So, I mean, you're going to have to try to implement that into your daily life. It's great.
It's fantastic.
Oh, it's fantastic, man. It is so much fun. So the Plexi. So,
right.
So anyway, I got this awesome Plexi. Plus, I have this Plexi clone now that sounds, the only thing I don't like about it is it just sounds too new. I mean, I've tried all kinds of stuff, different value. I mean, there are some things I've done that made it a little bit, but I think a lot of it's just the transformers. I should have gone with the Mercury output transformer because my 18 water, I use the Mercury. It has a vintage thing to it, but I used classic tone for these others, which great transformers just sound really new. Sounds like a boutique amp now is what it sounds like. It sounds like a boutique amp. And if you like that, you'd love it. But so anyway, so now I have this 50 watt Plexi clone and I have the 20 water with the Fryette, and it's just the best tone I've ever had. So I'm like, I guess I don't really need this big bulky Plexi. And I got into this Plexi for about, and I'm going to throw numbers, but like I got into this Plexi for about $2,500. And then, and I've had it for a few years. And then I noticed these things were selling for over $4,000. Wow. So I was like, I think I'm going to cash out. I got these 2 amps. They're awesome, and I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, so wait a minute, $4,000, that's gear money. You know what I mean? I mean,
like what else could I buy with
exactly
$4,000?
Because it was like, yeah, I should probably put it back in the bank, but it's like it was allotted for gear money.
I've already spent it once.
Exactly. See what I mean?
It's not like I have to get another $4,000. I just use that $4,000 to buy even more.
Exactly. So my question to the listeners: if you had $4,000 to spend on gear, not saying I do. I kind of do, but I'm probably going to put it back in the bank. You know what I mean? Just because it's the right thing to do.
Easy question for me. Every Moore and Donner pedal on Amazon. Every one of them. I would rock an 85-foot board.
If you had $4,000 right now, and I put a gun to your head, and said, "What would you buy? One piece. What would you buy for $4,000?" It's hard.
Man, I don't know.
I mean, now granted, that's a hard question because you don't really know the market.
I'm like the world's worst guitar customer. Really, because like, I don't know. I mean, like if for example, I wanted a JCM 800, wanted a great JCM 800. So I asked Dave Friedman. I said, Dave, can I borrow your JCM 800?
Yeah.
And he's like, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
And he's like, but I made it for blank insert of,
and I know who that person is.
Popular artist.
Yeah.
So it should be a pretty damn good one.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
never heard anything better.
This is pretty good, Dave.
Yeah.
This is pretty good 800 you got here.
But I think that's a good question for listeners is, if you had an extra $4,000 to spend, what would you get? Because I think it's going to tell us a lot about people's tastes if they do comment or wherever, or
Right.
send an email in or whatever. But
Yep.
I'd like to know, man. I mean, to me, like I said, I'm a project guy, man. I would probably buy parts.
Yeah, when you first said that, my first thing was like, man, imagine the parts you could buy and the amps you could build and the stuff you could build with those parts. Yeah.
Right. And even if you want to take it something that's less intensive and whatever, is like, I mean, man, you could buy a 60s Strat body, some 70s pickups and,
Right.
a custom neck. And then, bam, you got a vintage sounding Strat,
Right.
So there's things like that. And then I'm a sucker for gold tops. You could buy a Les Paul Deluxe, like a 69 or 70. Excuse me. That was the beer. But
Imagine the plugins you could buy with that.
Right? But no, I think that's
I could sound like any amp with this plug-in.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Do
you even plug in, bro?
I literally saw a comment. I think that was on my YouTube page where like, you guys are all stupid. I can get all the sounds of all those amps
And
on my computer.
You know what you say to him? I wish you would.
I wish you would.
But no, to me, I was like, man, that'd be a pretty interesting topic. I mean, I like vintage stuff, so I like Les Paul Juniors, but I hate P90s, so that sucks.
Yeah.
I love P90s when someone else plays them. Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke, unbelievable guitar tone all the time, and he loves P90s. It's not the only thing he plays.
Just doesn't work with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we play this pretty much the same amp. He has a Germino. It's a Plexi clone pretty much. And
Right.
by the way, that dude is such a cool guy. Greg Germino. You know him?
Mm.
You know his amps?
I may have met him at a amp show or something along the way, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Well, I called him and asked him a question about his amps. And then and I told him, I said, I try to build it. And here's this guy who I called about a question about maybe purchasing one of his amps. And he told me not to buy one. He straight up said, you got a 68 Plexi and you don't want to play it. Why? And I was like, well, because, I want to keep it safe in case. He's like, it's an amplifier. Play it. He was like, don't buy one of my amps. Play that. Why would you buy one of my amps when you got that? Play that. And I was ready to drop some serious money.
That's pretty cool though, man.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, Greg Germino amps, Germino. But I mean, just check them out. I mean, they're great amps. Charlie Starr's tone speaks for itself. But so.
All right. So do you have time to maybe pop in for a part 2?
Why wouldn't I?
So thanks again for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this podcast as well. If you have any comments or questions, as always, make sure you shoot me an email at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. And stay tuned for next week's episode for part 2 with Travis.